Welcome to our cover letter workshop with the Office of Career Services. I am Kelly Coughlan, the Senior Career Manager here at the Office of Career Services within the Costello College of Business. And I am joined by Nicole from Bear International, and so she's going to do her introduction here.
Hi everybody. I'm Nicole Lekus. I'm the Global HR Manager at Bear International.
All right.
Thank you. So as I mentioned, I'm the Global HR Manager at Bear International. We, in short, are a market research customer experience firm. So our vision and our mission are up here on the screen. In short, we want to help our clients be able to make actionable changes on the customer experience journey. All the different touch points a customer engages in throughout their experience, throughout their interaction with a brand or with a company. So this could be everything from a car wash to a hotel. It's going to be different touch points. It's going to be a different customer journey because you're interacting with systems, people, products, all the things at many different times throughout that entire process. So our services actually look at every single touch point, if the client wants, from beginning to end, all the way through to like returning a product or purchasing a product or pretending to have an issue and to see how it's resolved. So our purpose, our mission is to help our clients realize where there might be challenges and where there might be something good going on, whether that's with their employees, whether it's with their actual brands. We do brand audits. How are people reacting to a brand? We do sentiment analysis, so how are customers feeling about that brand or about that product or about that company or about the people they're dealing with, all the different ways you can look at it. And we want our clients to be able to improve their businesses based on the feedback and the analytics we give them.
And of course, we'll stick around too at the
Yes,
end.
yes.
This will not be your only opportunity. So I invited Nicole because she's just as passionate about cover letters as I am. What is a cover letter? Why do we do one? We're going to go over all of this good stuff, the formatting, what the different sections are, and frequently asked questions. So of course, with the cover letter, it's really your chance to introduce yourself in a way that you can't on a resume that is just kind of this document that has bullet points and there's not a heck of a lot of personality in that. So it expresses your interest, shares your qualifications. I will tell you, when I have students come to me at the end of the semester and they say, I applied for 100 jobs and I haven't heard anything. And I always ask them, are you tailoring your resume? Are you doing a cover letter, even if it's not required? And then of course, who are you networking with, if anybody at all? And I can guarantee something in that mix isn't happening. So if you could just talk for a moment too, because I remember last time we had you here, you talked about your passion for cover letters, but how it was even like, I don't even go to the resume until you pass go at this stage. So tell me a little bit about, tell everybody the importance of this piece of documentation here.
So every HR person is different. Some people prefer a resume, but more and more are looking at cover letters. Myself, Kelly's point, I don't even look at your resume first. I look at your cover letter first. And if your cover letter is good enough, but if it's good, then I'll go to your resume. I glance at resumes. Honestly, speaking of resumes, your resume gets about 5 seconds with an HR representative. If you are not making your bullet points like the most important ones first, it's not going to get much farther than that. A cover letter gets more time. I will read most of your cover letter as long as, and I know Kelly's been going to this, your first part catches my attention. Where are you talking about yourself? And do I want to read the next 4 paragraphs? Because honestly, I've had positions where I get 100 applications. That is a lot of time that when I'm trying to do everything else, I just don't have to spend more than a couple seconds on every piece of application. So your cover letter is the time for you to shine. It does all these things, but it gives you your personality as well. And it gives the employer an understanding of why they should hire you. Your resume says what you've done. Your cover letter connects it to the role that you're looking for, you're applying to, and to the company to which you're applying.
So for my cover letter, we'll get into this, how you can address gaps in employment, things like that. As a military spouse, I moved all over the country, and so it looked like, why is this woman?
That's something, Joe.
Well, yeah, why is every 2 years she like moving to a different part of the country and starting her job search over and over, and so that cover letter was a great place to explain that it was against my will and so the importance of a cover letter. You know, especially to a lot of employers will, or students who are applying for jobs, they'll see that the cover letter is not required. And they'll just think, oh, thank goodness, because I hate writing them. But really, it's just one more opportunity to stand apart from the competition is doing one when it's not required, going above and beyond. Because you are in competition with hundreds, if not thousands of other people for that job. So that doing a cover letter, showing that work ethic, you know, when it's not required is a great way to stand out. And then not just making it a recap of your resume, right? I have all the information. Yeah, exactly. I wanna just look back to stare at that.
Yep.
But it's also a way to showcase kind of your writing ability,
Mhm.
because you're gonna be writing professional emails, I'm assuming, for any, you know, job that you go into. And so it's a really nice way to showcase your professional writing, as well as just tying it into your personality characteristics or what makes you a unique fit for this job and your role. We'll go into kind of how to create a hook, you know, in that first sentence, as I'm sure you see in your cover letters that you're reviewing. But we also want to make sure, and this is one piece where a lot of people fall short, they make the cover letter all about themselves. Instead of talking about, here's why we're such a great fit for each other, because this is the organization's goals and their values, and that aligns with mine. And let me, you know, give you an example. You know, it's just about, this would be really great for me because I really want
Right,
me. So we want to kind of avoid that. And I would really encourage people to do kind of a deep dive into the company, not just quoting back the mission statement, which everybody has access to, but what's on those social media pages that they're really proud about? Is there some, did you just, for example, I did a session with Mike Bear, we actually have it on our YouTube page. If you can quote something the CEO of the company said for Bear International on your cover letter, wouldn't you stand out in a special way, right? An effective cover letter introduces you and your resume. It summarizes some pertinent pieces, states how your qualifications relate to this job. It's brief and to the point. We're not rewriting Harry Potter here. Formatting wise, what does this look like? You know, maybe the intro is about what's interested you in this position. So many students start out with, I'm really excited to apply for the business analyst position. I saw posted on Handshake. I think I would be a great fit because X, Y, Z. And that's what 100 other people also wrote. We did this.
However, I will say, if you do name the position, make sure it's the right position, the right company, because that's one way to get your cover letter thrown out real fast.
Yep.
And I've done it.
So we talk about creating a hook, and that can be something like, you know, if I were going for a finance position, I could talk about, since I was in 8th grade, I actually balanced the books for my dad's construction business, and that's how I first got my start in finance. That is why I decided to pursue a degree, and I think I'd be a great fit for the specific job, naming the correct title, with the specific company, naming the correct company, and then going forward from there. Never longer than a page. Uses a business letter format, which we'll look at what that looks like, contains 3 to 4 paragraphs. And again, it's, you are going to customize this
Yes, please do.
for every company you apply to. And here's our header. I recommend using the same header that you're using on your resume, so that I were to print up these 2 documents for branding purposes, they would clearly match and go together. We're going to talk about putting the date that we're submitting this application, the company name. You know, if you can actually find the person, like Nicole, the person who is going to be reviewing the resume, don't you look slick if
Yes,
you're
I do appreciate that.
putting that information on top there? Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to find because they don't.
And if you
list
can't,
it.
like in my samples I brought, hiring manager is fine, or hiring committee.
So we talked about starting with a hook, state why you are writing the company, share how you heard about the job opening. So here's an example. Dear Ms. Smith, growing up in a family that owned a small business, I developed a deep fascination for how companies operate and thrive. This early exposure has driven me to apply for the business analyst position, posted on Handshake. And then again, going into the background, as a 3rd-year management student at George Mason with a solid background in business analytics, I believe I'd be a good fit for this company. And this is just the intro paragraph, and now we're gonna go into more detail and back up.
And then a couple things, the last sentence, because of its innovative organizational structure. which leverages technological expertise. That's the kind of detail you're looking for when you do your research on a company. That values diversity, if that's one of their values, again, it shows you've done your background research, you've done your investigation, which we in HR really, really appreciate because it shows your investment in working with us.
And I think the other thing too that really helps when you do that background on the company to show so interested, you've done your homework. It also prepares you better for the interview, because one of the questions they're gonna ask in that interview is, why do you wanna work
Yes,
here? Not
first one I always said.
There you go. Here's what this looks like again, just from a formatting perspective. You don't have to memorize this with your eyes. Again, we will be sending that out. The main body is just 1 to 2 paragraphs, tying in your relevant experience and kind of what makes you a unique fit for that. First sentence should highlight what you're writing about, tell a story. The last sentence should connect. And again, here's a nice sample you can read. But, my work experience on campus has allowed me to develop strong problem-solving skills. And then we're going to go into where you learn those skills, how it helped. You mentioned.
Example. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Examples, and you had that on the previous slide. So don't just tell me you're good at organization, you're a strong leader, and you're analytical. That's telling me three words. Okay, great, I could tell you that I'm good at finance, but it's a big fat lie. So unless you have experience and examples to back it up, I'm honestly, again, when I read cover letters that are just adjectives, they don't show anything to me.
Right, so it's don't just tell me, show me.
Show
right?
me,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly.
Okay, and then in the conclusion, refer the employer to your resume, restate the position of the job title, express an interest for further discussion, include your contact information, and then thank them for their time, restate the interest. So this was what a conclusion could look like there. I look forward to applying my analytical knowledge and skills while supporting a company that prioritizes diversity and growth opportunities for its employees, so still tying in something about the company. Please don't hesitate to contact me if you have any questions regarding my qualifications. Thanks for your time. And then it looks really slick if you actually insert your signature rather than just leave it as a typed first name, last name.
And how you can do that is, if you don't know, because I didn't know at first either, you sign a piece of paper, you scan it as a PDF, and then you can create your document Word or PDF, and then insert the image.
Include your name and contact information from your resume at the top of your cover letter with the same formatting. Again, we talked about kind of making this for branding purposes. The top of that resume matches the top of that cover letter. So if I were to print up these 2 documents, they match nicely. We're going to research the company to personalize the letter. Don't just look at their mission statement, but also their socials, something that's in the news that their CEO said recently, things like that.
And the position itself.
Right.
Make sure you're tying in specifics from the job description into your cover letter. Again, that's connecting why you want, the best fit for that job.
Yeah, and we always, of course, want to be positive, natural, and interesting. So be directing your desire to work for the company, avoid repeating exactly what's on your resume again, then there's no point in doing the cover letter and you've missed an opportunity here. Be brief and concise. Again, we don't need to ramble on for paragraph after paragraph. Double check punctuation, spelling, and grammar. Don't tell me you have attention to detail and misspell or detail, which I have seen.
Yeah.
And then proofread, of course, that's what we're here for. So if you need help with your cover letter, resume, practicing interview skills and all that good stuff, that is certainly what we are here for. So emphasize your strengths on your resume, in your cover letters, and in your interviews. It may sound obvious, but you'd be surprised how many people simply list everything they've ever done. Convey your passion and link your strengths to measurable results. Employers and interviewers love concrete data.
That's a great point for resumes and cover letters. If you increase social media followers by 15%, that exact data point should be in your resume and in your cover letter. Even if you don't have an exact number, if you saw increased engagement, if you had better reviews, if you worked with 20 and newcoming employees and trained them on XYZ in your department or as your internship. Whatever the case may be, give specifics.
Okay, and of course, the hot topic. So I know that people are using AI for cover letters.
We know it too.
We know it too, we can tell. So we want to do a couple best practices. It is absolutely okay to use AI to get ideas for something. How could I better phrase this particular sentence, right? However, what we are hearing from more and more recruiters is, you know, if you're just gonna put in the job announcement and say, write me a cover letter for this job announcement, yours is gonna match everybody else's, and it's gonna stand out that you didn't take the time to create it yourself, that you just simply popped it into a AI tool, and then you didn't personalize it, right? You didn't make it about your personality and stuff, it was just kind of this generic thing. And again, this, just like your resume and why you wouldn't just straight up use AI for your resume, from what we've heard from recruiters is they'll get into the interview and start asking them things from either the cover letter or the resume, and sometimes they're met with a blank stare. I said I did what? So we wanna, yeah, we need to, yeah, what that says, yep, sure.
Right.
Right, if you can't expand on that because it's not necessarily a real story, or it's not how the phrasing you would have used,
Right.
that's where it sounds disingenuous.
Yeah, even if the data point might be accurate, if it's worded differently or has different example, maybe, or it's not quite your own reflection or inflection, a lot of us can tell that there's something up and it doesn't look good.
So even if it gets you the interview, if you, you know, come off in person completely different than how that cover letter was written.
And
Not,
sometimes they're even getting people are getting the job. And then the employer's realizing AI had a big part to play in everything, writing your interview answers, all of it. And that's not boding well for you in that position, but also for the future, because a lot of, especially if you're in a niche industry, we talk. HR people talk, and so you can very easily blacklist yourself for future positions.
right. So one of the things, there's some best practices here, we can totally use this for ideas, but not just straight up copying and pasting. Whenever you're using any kind of AI, make sure that you do not put your personal information, so sometimes, especially with either the cover letter or the resume, they copy and paste the whole thing, which includes your cell phone and your email address and all that stuff, and AI remembers it, so don't put it in there. And then, of course, there's the plagiarism, examining it for accuracy, like we just talked about. This should be a reflective statement of your personality. So again, there's some ways that we can effectively use this, just saying, how can I effectively customize a cover letter for this job? And putting it in there without personal information. You could put the job description in there using this resume, but again, at no point are we just simply copying and pasting all the information, ChatGPT or whatever is spitting out to us. How can I connect my personal goals of this to the mission of this company? You know, get a little guidance there. Can you help me start my cover letter? It doesn't know your whole history, so you're gonna have to put in, what is the story that you're trying to tell? What's an anecdote about your upbringing or something that you wanna figure out how to finesse the phrasing? Keywords from the job announcement, that's totally okay. If you wanna throw in the job announcement and say, which keywords should I be hitting on in my cover letter? How to address an employment gap, as I talked about when I'm darting all over being dragged all over the country. From Florida to California to Memphis to Rhode Island to this way and that. What strategies can I use to make my cover letter stand out? And can you assist me in developing a compelling closing paragraph?
And another way you can use AI is to conduct that background research. You always want to double check AI. It can come up with whatever it wants to come up with. Ask it for its references or its sources. Do that. I say, can you find the data points and include your source material? And then I go check it against the source material. If it's from some wackadoodle website, I'm not gonna send it to my CEO as a data point. But if it's from Harvard Business Journal, So that can also, so you're not having to comb through the entire internet, ask it to find specific things for you, and then you can do your own research based off that.
Oh, I love that, especially for the CEO quotes or something like that.
Mhm.
That's cool. Things to avoid, like we just talked about, don't copy and paste straight up AI statements. Don't talk about salary. Don't talk about why you left. Limiting geographic considerations. Expounding on your philosophy, anything negative, of course, always a red flag. Final details, swing by our office. We'll happily check this for you, add a handwritten signature as we talked about. Always save in Word, but you can save and send as a PDF, and that's how that formatting that you've spent so much time making it look gorgeous stays tried and true. And the employer can see what you have saved your cover letter as. So instead of being mock draft 2.0 for KPMG
Yeah.
and I send it to their international.
Yeah.
It doesn't, not a good look. So, make sure that you're saving that document as something that, recognizes the employer can see it. And then, of course, here is our office hours. We have walk-ins Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. You can do virtual or in person. We also have appointments you can do through Patriot Connect. So you're welcome to stop by anytime. And then the cover letter, again, it just increases your chances of getting an interview, doesn't guarantee it, and there's just one piece of the hiring puzzle, right?
Yes.
We talk about at the very beginning, I mentioned effective networking, creating a tailored resume, finding people on LinkedIn, especially alumni or whoever to build relationships with, preparing for that interview and all that wonderful stuff. And there we are with everything that we can help you with. You might want to scan this. This is our LinkedIn group that we have for current students as well as alumni and industry professionals. You can join that, ask questions, meet some people, and then here, this is our Canvas page. So if you want to find cover letter samples, resume samples, all sorts of different, going into more depth on some of these topics, you can absolutely join our Canvas page and find all of that there. Don't memorize it with your eyeballs. I will be sending it out. And then here is the link to our Instagram and then our regular LinkedIn page where we do post jobs sometimes not found on Handshake, including those from Bear International. So it would behoove you to scan one of those, or especially the LinkedIn one right now, because we do postings on there you won't find on Handshake. All right, I don't see any more questions. So with that, I will say thank you, Nicole, for being here. Once again.
Yes,
Appreciate your
thank
time. And again, I will send out the email with the PowerPoint, and those samples afterwards. And of course, please stop by our office if you want your cover letter reviewed. And thanks for joining us today.
And feel free to reach out via LinkedIn. You want to connect.